Imagine being forced to marry and share a bed with your own brother, uncle, or cousin, all in the name of keeping your family's bloodline pure. For centuries, royal dynasties played a dangerous game with genetics, chasing power while ignoring the horrifying consequences. Twisted family trees, tragic children, mental breakdowns, and secrets they desperately tried to keep hidden from the world. Today, we're uncovering the shocking, heartbreaking, and at times downright disturbing lives of history's most inbred women. And trust me, the woman at number 1 will absolutely leave you stunned. Let's kick things off with number 7. Isabella II of Spain, who reigned from 1833 to 1868, is often cited as a prime example of the disastrous effects of royal inbreeding. Born in 1830, her arrival, despite being a girl, was seen as a small victory after her father's long and desperate attempt to produce a male heir. But rumors about her frail health, and that of her sister, started swirling from an early age. And it's no wonder, her very bloodline was a genetic minefield. Isabella was the child of an uncle-niece marriage. To make matters worse, her family tree looped in on itself. Her grandparents on one side were also her great-grandparents on the other. At just 16, she was forced into marriage with her double second cousin. Over the years, she endured 11 pregnancies, but only 5 of her children survived past infancy. Here's where things get even more scandalous. Many historians agree that her husband likely fathered none of those children. Their marriage was cold, complex, and possibly shaped by his rumored homosexuality. Isabella's reign eventually crumbled, ending with her being forced off the throne. A deeply tragic figure, her downfall was as much a product of her troubled rule as it was of the royal obsession with keeping bloodlines pure. Marie-Louise of Austria was born into a family where cousin marriage wasn't just accepted, it was the norm. Her parents were double first cousins, meaning they shared all 4 grandparents. And yes, they were legally married. As the eldest of 12 children in a family tangled in generations of intermarriage, tragedy quickly became part of her daily reality. Only 7 of her siblings made it to adulthood, half of them lost to the same genetic risks that haunted many royal bloodlines. The extent of inbreeding in Marie-Louise's family is nothing short of staggering. Genetically, she had only 4 unique great-grandparents, just half of what most people have. That kind of genetic bottleneck doesn't come without consequences. Developmental issues, miscarriages, and inherited diseases ran rampant in families like hers. At just 18, Marie-Louise was thrust into the political spotlight when she was forced to marry Napoleon Bonaparte, the man her father, Emperor Francis II, had fought bitterly in battle. This marriage was less a union than a peace treaty, a calculated attempt to secure stability between Austria and France through the promise of a male heir. Imagine the pressure. A teenager, raised in a crumbling family tree, carrying the hopes of 2 empires on her shoulders today. Maria I of Portugal, known as the Pious, though the tormented might be more fitting, was born in 1734 into one of Europe's most intensely inbred dynasties. She would become infamous for 2 things: her profound mental deterioration and the deeply tangled lineage that likely contributed to it. Her parents, King Joseph I of Portugal and Maria Anna Victoria of Spain, were part of a long-running tradition of intermarriage between the Spanish and Portuguese royal families. In fact, they were the 16th such closely related couple, a staggering statistic that spoke volumes about the royal obsession with keeping power in the family. But Maria's fate wasn't sealed by her parents alone. At age 25, under pressure to preserve the House of Braganza's bloodline, she made a fateful choice. She married her own uncle. The genetic consequences were devastating. Of her several children, half died young, many from complications now believed to be linked directly to the effects of inbreeding. And Maria herself would not escape unscathed. Though brilliant and devout in her youth, her mental health began to spiral in adulthood, particularly after the death of her husband-uncle. Grief, compounded by inherited vulnerabilities, triggered a terrifying decline marked by hallucinations, religious mania, and a complete loss of rational thought. Her story is a stark illustration of how dynastic pride, cloaked in tradition, could destroy both rulers and their lineages from within. Marie-Louise Elizabeth d'Orléans lived a life that reads like a dark, twisted chapter from a Gothic novel, one marked by scandal, sorrow, and the suffocating grip of dynastic duty. Even her very birth sparked controversy. She was the product of a deeply unhappy union between Philippe II, Duke of Orleans, and his illegitimate cousin, the daughter of Louis XIV. The marriage was arranged for political convenience, not affection, and Marie-Louise, their eldest surviving child, was born into the shadow of that bitter compromise. But there was no reprieve in adulthood. Like many women of her bloodline, she was again sacrificed to politics, forced into marriage with yet another cousin, Prince Charles of Berry. The couple had 3 children, none of whom survived. Was this string of tragedy the result of their dangerously entangled DNA? Or did Marie-Louise's well-documented battle with alcoholism, which reportedly began as early as age 14, play a role? It's a question historians continue to debate. Some suggest her drinking was a desperate attempt to numb the suffocating weight of royal expectation. Others argue that her fragile health and repeated losses were simply inevitable outcomes of relentless inbreeding. Whatever the cause, the end result remains painfully clear: a life marked by loss, addiction, and a genetic legacy that offered no mercy. While her uncle, Charles II of Spain, is often remembered and ridiculed as the most inbred Habsburg, Maria Antonia may have actually surpassed him. Her lineage is so entangled that calling it a family tree is generous. It was more like a knot, or as some have said, a circle with no way out. Due to centuries of relentless cousin and uncle-niece marriages, Maria Antonia's coefficient of inbreeding, a scientific measure of genetic similarity, was even higher than that of a child born to 2 full siblings. Let that sink in. Despite her striking genetic legacy, her story is rarely told. Overshadowed by more infamous Habsburgs, she quietly holds the title of perhaps the most genetically inbred individual in royal history. While Charles II exhibited the visible and mental effects of this lineage, Maria Antonia's existence serves as a haunting peak, a grim testament to what happens when royal bloodlines twist too tightly for too long. A lesser-known yet intriguing royal figure, Princess Alexia of Greece, was born in 1964. She and her 4 siblings were products of one of the final dynastic unions between a reigning king and a royal princess. But a closer look at her parents, Queen Amory of Denmark and King Constantine II of Greece, reveals a far more complex story. Their marriage wasn't just a royal match. They were both second cousins and third cousins twice over. A deeper dive into their ancestry shows a dense web of familial ties. Constantine descended from great-grandparents who were siblings, and one of his grandmothers was also the sister of his great-grandfather. Amory's family tree was just as entangled. Though their bond appeared sincere, their close blood relation meant their children were, to some extent, inbred, mirroring the genetic closeness seen in the lineage of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. Cleopatra VII Philippator, strip away the Hollywood glitz, and what's left is a story steeped in politics, power, and relentless inbreeding. Though she ruled Egypt, Cleopatra's blood was purely Greek-Macedonian. She descended from the Ptolemaic dynasty, a royal house founded by one of Alexander the Great's generals, and one infamous for marrying within itself, brother to sister, uncle to niece, generation after generation. Her parents were siblings. Her grandparents were siblings. Her own siblings were married to each other, and she too would rule alongside her brothers as both wife and co-regent before taking power for herself. Even her name, Cleopatra, was inherited from a rare outsider, a Syrian princess, one of the very few non-Greeks ever permitted into the tightly sealed Ptolemaic bloodline. Cleopatra wasn't just a product of dynastic inbreeding. She was its ultimate expression. Brilliant, ambitious, and politically unmatched, yet biologically shaped by a closed gene pool forged over centuries of royal obsession with purity. From the glittering courts of Alexandria to the hidden corners of rural compounds, the human cost of power preserved through isolation and intermarriage remains chillingly clear. If this deep dive into the world of history's most inbred women shocked you, fascinated you, or made you see royalty in a different light, be sure to show your support. Hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and tell us which story left you speechless. And most importantly, subscribe for more untold, unsettling, and unforgettable stories from history's darkest corners.